What if I told you focus on the smaller time frames too much? What if I told you I could get you to zoom out and look at the bigger time frames once a week, and it would only take you about 10 minutes of your time? What if I told you this 10 minutes could change your trading life, and that's only 40 minutes a month? Let's have a macro analysis of Bitcoin, the NASDAQ, the S&P, gold, silver, the DXY, the dollar, and more, so you can get a bigger picture of what's happening in the markets to help you make a better decision with education. Hi, my name's Sam Price, the Crypto Lifer. Thank you for jumping on in. And today we're going to deep dive Bitcoin on the macro, and we're going to show you some things that you should be paying attention to on the macro for Bitcoin. The first thing I want to talk about is the monthly chart. That was a previous high of the last cycle. Some say that was the real high. This was an extended high, and then we came back down. It was a false high. That was a real high. Anyway, whatever you want to say, that was a really strong area of support and resistance, and we're coming back to it yet again, about 58, 59,000. 60K really is the stronghold. You see, too, that falling wedges break up 68% of the time. This is a falling wedge, and it looks very similar to the last falling wedge we made, almost identical. There's also some other things that are playing out with low stochastics, and what's called hidden bullish divergence. The RSI itself is in a downtrend, while price action is in an uptrend. 90% of the time, that'll produce a big pump. Also, if we take this wick to that wick, and we draw what's called a Fibonacci retracement from the bottom to the top using Alt-F on a PC as the shortcut, we're going to see that we bounce off the 886. From this pump, we've had an 886 retracement. If you take it from this extension, which is where the rally really first began, we've simply come down to the 618 golden pocket. We're actually inside the golden pocket right now, which could be one of the most substantial places to buy Bitcoin in its history. Another thing that has happened is during these dumps, this is the fear and greed index, and we've gone to 5 twice and hit 8. Notoriously, when the 2-week chart, if I slip to it real quick, is below the dotted line on the stochastics RSI, and this indicator is in the single digits on the fear, it's been a bottom. I bought it every time, and it has played out in a 4-year period. If it doesn't play out, this will be the first time, but I'm taking shots. So I'm buying Bitcoin in these areas, just so you know. But you do whatever makes you happy. Well, my years and years of technical analysis is telling me this is one of the greatest times to buy Bitcoin in the cycle of Bitcoin. 2-week chart also looks really good. If we do go lower, we could tussle maybe with the 2-week 200 moving average, but that's, I feel like, the lowest we could even consider going. Right now, there's still a big chance that this week we close back above the weekly 200, which notoriously, look, the last time we were this close, we just dipped a little bit below. We made a bullish divergence. We got above it. We have the bullish divergence now, and we didn't have to go below the 200. We also had a really extended rally that put us up high. Institutions have bought Bitcoin. A lot of people put it on the balance sheet. Bitcoin, not as much Bitcoin was on the balance sheet down here. You see what I mean? And what that means is there's a lot of more buying and selling and speculative behavior. Now Bitcoin is being held long-term by more people every single cycle. This props it up higher and makes it closer to the 200 weekly in a way, logically, if you think about it. So there's a good chance, too, that this is also tempting to be a bit of a bottom. Now, maybe this right shoulders, and we dump down here to 47, 48K, and we get another chance. If we do, I think that will be the screaming bottom and one of our last chances to ever buy Bitcoin below $50,000. We go and look at the daily now, too, and I just want to show you that the daily has some key things. It's really got to get back above what's called this point of control at 67.2. That's holding it down right now. And we're actually watching what's called a symmetrical triangle on the daily. That could go either way. It's up to this triangle, really, in the next few days, what we see. A week from now, we're pumping up to the 200 moving average, or we slump down and we're making a double bottom down here yet again, possibly at 58,650. I'm leaning towards the fact that we pump. Why? Moving averages are curving. This is kind of shoulder, head, right shoulder vibes. This is kind of a higher low. When these get tight, we tend to pump up to the 200 moving average. I'm leaning that we'll go sideways. We might dip a little more, but we'll go sideways, and we'll pump out of this to the upside. And that's my macro analysis for Bitcoin. And next week will be kind of, hopefully, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm open-minded, but it's looking like the probability could hold us down. And really, you want to watch Bitcoin. I don't want to really predict. I want to tell you how to trade it. If in the next 5 days we go more sideways, the long is more there. If we start to dip here, you're going to be looking for flags in the 1 hour or the 15-minute, bear flag specifically. And a bear flag is meaning like you'll drop down, you'll start to go sideways, and on the 5-minute or the 15, the 21 will hit, and you'll likely dump back down to the next support. If you stay up in here and go sideways, it's more aptitude to take a long. So in the next 5 to 6 days, you'll get a pretty good area to long or short Bitcoin as well. Very high risk to long right now for the bounce back to the upside. That's what I'm doing on the 4 hour, but I don't want to get that micro. I want to keep you here on the daily. Now we're going to talk about the S&P futures and the NASDAQ, right? S&P still looks good to me. I like what's going on, but today we took a sharp decline outside of the trend line. Not a fan of that. I want to see us stay in that. That's not a great, this needs to kind of really, and it looks like it's going to close, but it is 12 o'clock. Be nice if we get some type of catalyst to push this candle back inside the pattern. We could say it's just an extended pattern. This is the third top tap, and I'm okay with that. But in the next 2 or 3 days, this has to bounce right back up. 3 days from now, or basically by next Tuesday, Wednesday, we need to see back at 7,500, 7,580. Otherwise, this could start to drop. It is an ascending triangle. They can be 50-50. However, because we fought off the bears here and here, I think it's very likely this higher low kicks in and we continue to pump to the upside. Same as the NASDAQ, right? A little bit of a scare today on the NASDAQ, a little bit of a dip on risk on assets. Bitcoin, NASDAQ just looks a little more bearish. It doesn't hold the trend line as well. That actually could tell us a story too, that the whole market is a little more fragile. We're going to need the NASDAQ to bounce back up and consolidate. If the NASDAQ closes another candle below this channel, I got to start saying that it's going to come down in Tesla's 26,394 and have a bigger pullback. Okay? Everyone's watching the Strait of Hormuz right now and also the Fed, right? With what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. Right now, doesn't look like there's a rate cut in sight, which is kind of tight for risk on assets. You know, the yield was pumping this week too, which actually put a lot of pressure on Bitcoin and the NASDAQ. And then there was talks of us going back into, conflict with Iran. So, that's starting to settle off, but people still aren't sure. Clarity Act also kind of on shaky ground when it comes to BTC. So, a lot of people want to know what's happening to gold and silver to kind of couple this idea. I see it continuing, with this kind of, with the trouble we've had this week and, a little bit of war pressure, see gold kind of stabilizing at the 0.5 fib with the double bottom. You might see a rise here. There's a chance. If you're a gold bug, a great place to DCA. It might pop up one more time. I'd like to see if we can get gold in the 618. I think this is the really, really good discount area at about 35, 3,600. To me, I think it's coming out of this descending triangle, and we're going to see gold go lower. Now, talking about silver, watch this kind of falling wedge with silver. Eventually, we'll break out. I see kind of a little more downside, maybe until the end of August. It does say, though, things start to turn around. Like as Bitcoin starts to come up, looks like silver and gold may actually kind of run a little bit with BTC. I'm not going to say they're going to completely, pump and dump against each other or correlate, but it looks like for a time they may pump together as the dollar loses more and more value. So I see silver kind of a good time. When I pull a fib for silver on the big picture, you're getting really, really close to a great pullback. 786 is not far away, and that's $50, which to me is a very, very fair price for silver after such a massive move to $121 an ounce. It also is good saying that that's probably going to be our bottom for silver. I don't think we go lower than $50, $48 an ounce. We start to kind of balance out here after the massive sell-off. 618 is a good place to start looking, and the 786 is a great place to make long-term buys on any asset in the world if that's how you play it. Fibonacci will give that to you, so I like seeing that too on the fibs. I take a look at Bitcoin dominance because I want to see how much money is flowing into Bitcoin above the other coins. And let's just kind of start fresh and look at a whole new picture for Bitcoin dominance. It did look a little more bearish than bullish, but it didn't look like we were going to have a huge alt season yet, too, like a lot of people, scream and yell about. If you look at the weekly, it's still kind of in this giant Adam and Eve, right? Which to me says eventually it'll break back to the upside over time. And Bitcoin, even though it looked like it was going to, the dominance was going to fall, it's kind of staying in this tight channel. I saw it as a shoulder, head, right shoulder, but we never got that. We got the pump. We went sideways. Still could say it's in like some type of symmetrical triangle that could go either way. We're getting very tight. In my humble opinion, I see even if we dump, Bitcoin dominance will likely rise. And if we pump, Bitcoin dominance will rise. I still don't see altcoins like giving a huge way, just yet. One more pump than the dump. But if we do lose this trend line and start to drop and ETH Bitcoin starts to move, there's a chance we should pay attention. So we'll look at that too as well. I'm going to look at ETHBTC for you. And because ETH Bitcoin is a pair, it's basically you're buying ETH with Bitcoin. And when ETH is making more gains, you can make more money on your Bitcoin with Ethereum. For instance, you could put one Bitcoin in, and if Ethereum goes up 10% against Bitcoin, you make 0.1 Bitcoin. Very interesting. So you can grow Bitcoin by trading assets with the BTC pair. Tether dominance actually looks like it's making a higher low, and it looks really good. I'll be honest, this is setting up for a possible dump for Bitcoin. for the next, I don't know, that tether dominance doesn't look amazing. I have to be honest. That looks like we're going to pump for the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 days. So I'd be careful. Tether dominance is heeding a warning here for the crypto market that there may be a flock into, tether, which usually means the market's in distress. The DXY to me is bearish. It's losing more value each time. They're, they're basically using it to extrapolate value. I can see this thing going down further down, and that's what I see happening. I see the DXY dropping further down and just overall going like this and then eventually making a massive dump to the downside. It's basically in a bear flag, maybe a slight uptrend that eventually ends in despair, and we get our bigger drop coming in, January of 2027. 2027 is when the DXY really loses bigger value. Bitcoin takes more center stage, and you see gold and silver come back because they can only continue to print money for so long until you start to really see it in the dollar. Right? Anyway, that is my macro technical analysis video. It's not that long, 11 minutes and 56 seconds. So for about a little over 10 minutes a week, you can get a bigger picture of what's happening and maybe not get emotional on the smaller time frames. That's the plan. If you like this type of technical analysis, I go live every single day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. I can't wait to see you there. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You can find out when I post my next video. And remember, if you came to my channel, then you're already doing the right thing. Crypto is life.